Welcome back to What Would You Ask podcast. My next guest, and for those of you that were around last week, I hinted that we were going to have some of the chefs from season 19 in Las Vegas on. And we had a couple of them on, and we're having a couple more on. And my guest today is from that season 19, where the winner would receive head chef position at Hell's Kitchen in Lake Tahoe, as well as some money. I think it's $250, or maybe it's with a few more zeros, $250,000, which sounds pretty good. And as I told her off the air, I nicknamed her Kori Stealth Sutton because, man, just all the way through, she's been consistent so far. And then she just keeps rising like a stealth does. Just right. I'm getting better. I'm winning. I'm consistent. I'm a leader. A lot of tools. But as we also talked about, Kori and I off air, was really talent pool rich group right here in season 19 when we get down to the end. Those of you watching very closely, we're taping this on April 19th on Monday. We just lost Declan last week, and we are down to Mary Lou and my guest today, Kori Sutton. Welcome to What Would You Ask podcast. I'm glad you're here.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for inviting me.
I'm very glad you're here. And I wanted to just start with, and we'll touch on the team of talent that you participated or participating with this year. I want to talk to you about your motivation and inspiration to even get started with this. Were you a big fan of Hell's Kitchen? Did you just looking for an opportunity to prove your skills, or tell us a little bit about the inspiration?
To be honest, I've been watching it for, forever, since almost as it started. I remember talking to my parents about, hey, I want to go on Hell's Kitchen. And my dad saying, no, I don't want Ramsay yelling at you. I would hate to see his men yelling and screaming and cussing at my daughter. I couldn't handle it. And then when it came kind of around many years later, it kind of fell in my lap, and my dad was just like, I think you can do it. I'm like, but Dad, you told me like how many years ago you would hate. He goes, no, you weren't ready for it. He goes, now you're ready for it. You're a Sutton. You could do it. And I'm like, really, Dad? You think so? He's like, my little baby can do it. I'm like, okay. And then I did it, and I'm on.
That's so cool. That is so cool. So what was the audition process like? I mean, we know everybody kind of has different audition process. Did you go to a local audition? Did you do it through the website and get contacted later? What was your audition process like?
Well, so they called me up. I was in the grocery store with my son. They called me up and said, hey, can you do an interview tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.? Well, they do their interviews here in Los Angeles at one of the airports, the hotels near the airport. So I get that call. I go in, I interview, and they're like, yes, maybe not. Yes, maybe not. Yes, maybe not. And they call me back the next day. Yes, we want you back for a second interview. I go in, I do my second interview, and I use, the psych test. Mm-hmm. And it's like 800 questions, and it's multiple choice, and it's like the same question but word differently.
Right.
And then you go talk to a psychologist to make sure you're really not batshit crazy. And then you have to talk to like a physical doctor. I mean, people don't understand, it's a lot of process to make sure that you're not going to kill anybody on set.
Yeah. And
that you can physically handle it.
Right.
So you do that, and you sit, in a separate room. They throw you all over the hotel in the lobby and stuff. And then you meet with the producers in the end, and then you don't hear anything. And you're like, well, was it good? They're like, okay, we'll call you. And you're like, something, please.
And then you wait a while, right?
Yeah. And then you get that random phone call, and they're like, okay, pack your bag. We'll see you next week. I'm like, what? Who? Okay.
Excuse me. Is this the pizza?
Yeah.
What happened? Yeah.
Exactly. So it happened pretty quickly, because when they found my resume and me, it was towards the tail end of the interview process. So I got mine kind of a lot quicker than I heard from some of the contestants that they'd wait months until hear yes or no, and waited so long to say yes or no. And then I finally came in and came out and yes, we'll take you. So
let's take a few questions from our listeners and viewers. Austin from Louisville, Kentucky wants to know, is there any way to prepare for Hell's Kitchen when you find out that you will be participating?
God. I mean, it's one of those things where do your basic skills, and to be honest, I cooked risotto and scallops probably for a week straight. And did duck, or not duck, but I did chicken and like steak and stuff. I mean, I like legit went back to the basics, knowing that I would have to cook those basics on the show.
Right.
So definitely bone up on your basic skills. And just your basic knife skills and knife, practices. It sounds ridiculous, but like go back to the basics and you'll pretty much be okay.
Got it. Next question is from Mackenzie from Summit, New Jersey. She wants to know, so you arrived to Hell's Kitchen. Was there anything different that we see than on TV? Was there anything different than we see on TV? I guess she's talking about the actual place.
Well, it was done in Vegas this time versus Los Angeles in all these years.
Yeah.
So it was definitely hotter. I mean, I'm obviously from Southern California, so I'm used to California heat and it being like, oh, it's a little warm. You got that little, crisp air and this and that, but you don't really have desert heat. So having to be in desert heat, and you have to be in the air conditioning because it's so hot outside, back and forth. So that was a little different than last year's for sure.
Got it. Tell us about, we've had some questions about the role of the sous chefs. And my answer always is when people ask me, I said they do everything from assist, Gordon at the pass, and they help guide you guys in a kind of hands-off sense. They're not telling you, that's going to burn, or maybe they are. I don't know. You could tell us, but they're also, babysit you when you're losing a challenge and making sure you're eating the fish shakes that you have to eat and the rest of that stuff. Tell us a little bit about the role of the sous chefs.
Yeah. So the sous chefs are pretty much there to be mini Chef Ramsays. And yeah, they do every once in a while walk by and be like, hey, watch this. Hey, be careful with that. Are you sure you want to do that? They can't tell you what to do. They can't tell you if you're doing something right or wrong, but they can like, are you sure you put enough salt in there? Do you really think that's cooked? Like they'll kind of hint around, but they'll never say anything.
Right.
And they are, yelling and screaming at you when you're making mistakes, but yet they also do praise you when you're good. Like they'll walk around and be like, good job. And like walk away. Or that was nice. And like walk away. Not like, oh my God, this is amazing. They'll never show their nice side, but they do have a little bit of heart.
Got it. Tim and Susie say, what was your favorite and least favorite challenge?
Favorite and least favorite. I think it was the same one. When we had the Mexican challenge, obviously that's my favorite because being Latina myself, I'm thinking, yes, I'm going to score this. I'm going to bring out like all my old school recipes. I'm going to do all that. Yeah. So it was like my favorite challenge to go into, especially be able to do with Mary Lou. Mary Lou is such a talented young woman, and her, Tex-Mex skills would go with, what we were doing. And then we just got ripped to shreds, and that was like my least favorite challenge at the end. So I was not very happy, to say the least. I think that's the one challenge I think I lost my bananas at the end.
Ginger from Scottsdale. Oh, Phoenix, Arizona. Why am I saying Scottsdale? She says, hi, Kori, you are my favorite on the show, and I hope you win. And she's asking, when did you think that you can win the competition? It's an interesting question.
Wow. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Everybody goes through that cycle of, all right,
everybody
I'm looking at everybody and I'm seeing what's out there now. I'm doing well. I think I can do this. Right. I mean, I got a shot.
And it's funny because this has been my second competition that I've been on like this. I was on Top Chef Mexico many years back. So I understood the mental, physical, and emotional stress that this show will put on you. The fact that you don't see your family, you don't see your kids, you don't see your loved ones.
Right.
You can't leave the set. You're stuck there. You're fed whatever you eat. You sleep whenever they tell you to sleep. Like, I get that. But I'm always a very positive thinker. and I'm going to push myself all the way to the end. And I'm going to make sure that I keep positive because no one else is going to root for me. Nobody else on that team was going to say, yeah, Kori, you can do it. We can do it together. No, it's everybody's against themselves. But I'm also a team player. And I understand that my red team has to win all the way up to a certain point. And I need them to win up to a certain point. Once you get to black jackets, if you're lucky enough, then it's like, okay, now I really need to start stepping it up. Now I really need to start showing who I am so that chef can see me for me and not me for red team.
Right.
And I think once we start to get towards the black jackets, my confidence kind of changed even more. Yeah. And I pushed it even more to now it wasn't well, I hope I can. Now it's I'm going to win. I'm going to win. And I start putting that mental thought in my head and switched it up to another gear to where I could be more presentable and more, upfront.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I was saying that Mary Lou was on as well. And she was saying very similar to you is I wanted to be part of the winning team, which was the red team. And she knew she had a lot of talent with yourself and Nikki and others. And she was saying, just like you just said, was if we're winning, one, our attitudes are better. We're better as a team because we're not nitpicking at each other and we're not nominating people for elimination. So the vibe is better. The culture is better. The attitudes are better. And then she said, really, when it got down to the black jackets, it does become a little bit more individualistic because now it's time to separate yourself. She had the same thought as you were just sharing. Let's talk a little bit about Chef Ramsay. You walk in to do your signature dish. I imagine the first time you physically see this guy, you have all this notion of this Michelin star chef, and I think he has 485 TV shows, but it's unbelievable how many shows he has. And by the way, I was watching this cooking thing on Prime the other day, and it's unbelievable. The stuff I think I just ate dinner. I was yelling to my wife, do we have any salmon in the thing? Because he just made, and I just ate. That's problematic. But his food he makes for everybody, it's just like, oh my, I can't do that. But anyway, tell us about your first impressions of Chef Ramsay.
Well, you see him on TV and you see his talent and you see, his anger in Hell's Kitchen on TV and you see his nice cuddly side when he's cooking with his family. And then you see him on, all these different shows that he's on, these different personalities. And I have to keep telling myself, he's not the devil chef. He's good. Don't scare yourself because the man is, 8 feet tall, built like a brick house. And he towers over you with this look and this hair like, I am perfect. You must be like me. And then you see him in the kitchen and he's tasting your food and he's got like no expression. And I'm like, oh my God, either he's going to swallow my food and say, oh my God, this was amazing, or he's going to spit it out and then throw it in my face. So you have that 50-50 chance of like it in your face. But he was absolutely amazing. Like when he criticizes your stuff, he's never putting down, if that makes any sense. He's always kind of like saying, hey, well, next time do this, this, and that. But if it was like really, really bad, then you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna be that idiot sandwich meme for the rest of my life. But I can't tell people enough how much of an amazing, talented chef and what an amazing man he really is.
It is. I told you before we got on air that I think we're in the mid 30 range of chefs that have been on in our ever growing Hell's Kitchen series, and not one has said anything about Chef Ramsay that was derogatory. Nothing about him.
Nothing.
No one's mentioned about the yelling. First of all, the only ones I think that are mentioning about it are the millions of people that watch it on TV. But you professionals in there, and we've had discussions through different chefs that would bring it up, and I would ask a follow-up question. Is he putting a little bit of an act on? And they usually say, look, he knows he's on a studio, but this guy has very high standards, and in the moment, he's not holding back. That's all. He's not. If he was at a kitchen in New York City, I don't think he's going to be screaming. He's got customers out there that are paying good money for the food, and he's not. But so in the different kind of stage / kitchen environment, he's not holding back at all. That's how he feels about what he sees and what he tastes and that type of stuff. And another comment by Brian Merrill was mentioned that he said, this is a guy that expects a lot out of you as you go along. You guys you're pros, and if you were the guy, grilling in the backyard, he's not going to have any kind of passion because this isn't what this person does, right? They're an accountant somewhere and they cook burgers. Or even somebody that's cooking that doesn't have the goals to achieve executive chef levels and et cetera. You guys are pros. And so you have one of the best chefs in the world saying to you, I need more out of you. If you want to get to my level, you need to do this, this, and this. Is that a fair assessment of Mr. Ramsay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I tell you, if he's yelling at you, it's because he's already told you once or twice how to do it properly. Yeah. And the third time he's going to yell at you. Yeah. If you're getting yelled at, it's not for just no reason at all. He's picking on you because he doesn't pick on people.
Right.
He's almost like a lion, and he attacks the weakest links to get him out of the way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
that's interesting.
He'll teach you once or twice to do something. He'll expect you. It's a simple thing. When I ask you a question, I want to hear yes, chef. If you don't answer yes, chef, I'm going to yell at you. I asked you once. You're an adult. We're not children here. We're not beginners. We've been in this profession for a minute. And we all know that when the chef is at the head of the table and asking a command or asking something, everybody equally yells, yes, chef, or heard. It's a staple. And when you don't do, it's little things that piss him off. And he's not a mean person. But when you push him to that point, then he can, because he is expecting perfection, because he is perfection, and he's willing to teach it to you. But if you don't pick it up, he'll throw you out.
Yeah, so true. There's another side, and I relate it, Kori, to this. As you know, Gordon Ramsay is quite an accomplished athlete, or was.
Yes.
Injury, as many of us have had injuries over the years, and taken away those dreams of being, David Beckham or whoever. Football and soccer, kind of guy, whichever, wherever you're listening to. In my world, it's soccer. He played rugby, right? At very competitive levels at
very
teams. It's almost like when he puts the chef hat on, that passion and that expectation that you just talked about and those standards come out. But when he takes it off, we see this on rewards. We see this guy that's very personable,
yes,
warm, inviting. These things, same guy I'm talking about. This thing, funny. Yeah. Really good sense of humor and really funny. That's what we see. Is that a Gordon that's playing up to the camera, or is that a guy that this is who he really is?
You can tell that's who he really is. You saw in the episode where, it's what Declan, Mary Lou, I think it's Cody and I, and we're at Caesar's Palace, and we're sitting there, which is with Declan. And we're sitting there at Caesar's Palace, and he's at the table with us talking, and he's opening up, and he sees you as a person. He sees you as a human being, and it's human being to human being. He even says, no, I'm not chef right now. I'm Ramsay.
Right. I'm
Gordon. And it's one of those things where he shows you that human side, so that when he does give you a command, and when he does he leads from behind. He doesn't lead from in front, if that makes any sense.
It does. That's so true.
And he's willing to stand there next to you in the battle and teach you to get there. But then once you're there, he expects you to keep on going.
Right.
And you see his human side. You see his family side, his father's side. And it's pretty amazing how he can become 18 different people when he needs to.
Yeah. So true. Let's go back to a few questions, and then we're going to talk about the kind of 5 or 6 finalists that what you saw, and I want to get some opinions on those folks from you. And then we're going to wish you best. And by the way, I got a bunch of things saying, can you ask Kori to come back when they finally, after the Thursday show, not after the show, meaning the day after, because you'll probably be a month before you can get back on here. But because, whoever wins this thing is going to be whoever, it doesn't even matter, even the runner up. You guys are it's such a popular show.
Yeah.
You're in a great position now, whether you win or lose, really. If you're, you know what I mean? You go on to great things. So as we said, the same thing, Mary Lou, if and when she wins, could you come back? We've had a lot of that. So I'm going to ask you back.
Of course. I would love to.
Great. A couple questions. One is, this is pretty funny. This went from Sarah to Gina and Teresa. They all asked this same question. And yes, we know each other. They wrote that because they same exact wording. It said, we're so glad you took Cody with reward to you. Mary Lou will get over it. Tell us about shopping with Cody. That was from those 3 ladies.
And you know what the funny thing is I've gotten so much slack from that. It's so sad. But like I said, Mary Lou and I have had created this little relationship from the beginning. Like I saw her and kind of took her under my wing and I pushed her up and up and up the entire way. Did I want to take Mary Lou? Absolutely. But I needed to know my other competitors, and it was Declan and Cody. And to be honest, Declan is an amazing chef. He is. Got a little bit of a temper, but he's still really passionate and good. And I knew that I could cook at his level. Like I knew his mentality.
Yep.
With Cody was such a wild card because he had some really great moments. He had some like not so good moments, but his palate and his talent was completely unique.
Yeah,
and I needed to know more about him. And that's the only reason why I picked Cody. And Cody got stuck cleaning animal poop in the animal barnyard and got switched from spa day from side. So he got shorted out on a couple of really cool events. So it was kind of my way of saying, you know, hey, you got stuck in a bad spot, but it's also kind of my way of saying, I kind of want to get to know you.
I think it's a smart move. Why not?
Yeah. So it was a strategic move that I did. And you saw that Cody and I came back with a little what was it? The Vitamix for Mary Lou.
Yes,
you know, to say, you know, we love you and, you know, sorry. I brought back Declan a really cool all clad copper bottom pan.
Yep.
You know, so it wasn't like we did it on purpose or maliciously, you know?
No. Looked like you guys had a good time too.
We had a great time. It was a great time. It really was a nice time to actually get to know Cody for Cody. He really is a talented and really cool guy.
Yeah. Last question, then we'll talk about the Black Jackets, but this is a good segue into it. You get to see Chris Angel, who I got to see out in Vegas a few years ago. It's more than a few years ago now, but an amazing show. I mean, and you guys were standing right in front of him on stage.
Oh my God.
I'm sure that was a fantastic thing, but we got a lot of questions about the VIP room. We see it, we see glimpses of it. Is it as special and amazing as, I mean, it's such a elite class to be in, to be a Black Jacket from Hell's Kitchen. I mean, that's a win too, right? You could chalk that one up regardless of what happens Thursday. That's a win. That puts you in a different class of everybody and you go home from there. I've said often, and I have tape to prove it. If you're in the top 5 in Hell's Kitchen, I know you're walking away 5th place. You're going, I wanted to win this thing, but months and months later, you look back and go, wow, I'm 5th. You know, just a rarefied air. I mean, it's just a different group of folks. But tell us a little bit about the experience with Angel. Then he spins the thing around and we see that, here comes the Black Jackets. And then you finally end up in the VIP room. Tell us that experience.
Oh God, Chris Angel was absolutely amazing to see him up front live. Oh my God, and especially in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is nothing to throw us, you know, it's just Vegas. No, it's Las Vegas. Like that's impressive. Right. You're in the front rows, you're VIP. There's nobody else. That was just mind blowing. In the Black Jacket Lounge, it's exciting and amazing. And then all of a sudden you just stop and think, oh my God, now I am one amongst the 5. Now I am Team Kori and not Team Kori's red team. Now it's me again. And we're sitting there cheersing and having a great time and eating. But then it's just like, now is when each person has their own corner and we all fight to the death. You know, so it's exciting, but yet it's also like, okay, I can't let my guard down, because if I do, then one of these guys is going to eat me alive. Because now this is the real talent. This is the real talent of the show. I mean, who I have to beat.
It's amazing, the talent in this season. I mean, whoever wins this thing is earning their stripes, because as I mentioned, you mentioned about Declan and his skill level and maybe a little bit of temper might have went against him. Amber can cook, and she was with the red team early on. Nikki, who, you know, seemed to be, I wouldn't say lost, but certainly didn't have the experience of others like yourself, just wanted to learn and worked and delivered in one thing. I mean, she just took off. You mentioned Cody and his skill, and Mary Lou obviously deserves to be there. Would you agree that might be one of the most talented 5 or 6 final chefs in the whole show. I mean, history. I've done a lot of chefs, and it's tough to find that depth in all of these seasons.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And it was one of those things where there's such an amazing talent, and there's such an amazing group of individuals, and each one is extremely strong in their own way. And it was scary and terrifying, and it was very surreal to see and to have to go up against. And it was something that it was probably getting to part of some of the hardest challenges to do.
Got it. 2 more questions and I'm going to let you go. I know you're busy. What did this teach you about you? This whole experience, right? What did it teach you? Did you learn things from Chef Ramsay? Did you, meet people that are going to be friends for a lifetime? Did you enjoy this experience overall? Separating the whole competition, what does it mean to you to be part of the Hell's Kitchen show?
It taught me a lot more patience. It taught me how to be a lot more focused and dedicated and just, on what I want. And it also taught me that after all these years of cooking and after all these years of sacrifice and, losing weekends with my son, not being there for the holidays and having to cook and not being able to be there, Christmas morning to open up presents or all this stuff, it showed me that it was worth it. This was a challenge, not just to try to win or want to win. This was a challenge to show myself that after all these years, I can do it. And it was worth it. And I am good enough to stand in front of all of these extremely talented chefs who some of them have college degrees and some of them have culinary degrees and Michelin star restaurants under their belts. And here you are talking to a girl who dropped out of high school, never went to college, never went to culinary school, had to learn on her own in Mexico around nothing but men and being mostly the only woman, a foreign woman and a female woman in a very predominant man country, and knowing that all the sacrifices that I go to, all of the, no, you can't, no, you're not worth it. No, you're never going to be, you're not. And then now I get to stand next to Mary Lou and go, oh shit, we're the final 2. This could be real. And even if I don't win, I'm still going home a winner.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm still going home top 2.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
That's awesome. I have one more question to you, but I do want to tell you that it's just amazing that you just articulated it so well that you are in the final 2. And I said this to Mary Lou. We wish you the best and we want you back regardless of where you place your winners, and both of you, just from what you've achieved and what you've gone through. And I've always been a fan of the show, but I watch an incredible amount over and over and over again of the show now for preparation for interviews like these. And you realize when you hear these stories from the chef of how difficult this journey is, how long your days are, right? And how this is not, let's film you, cleaning or unloading the truck. All right, camera's off. We did 20 minutes. You're good. You're unloading the truck. I mean, it's not like, you know what I mean? It's not, cut, print kind of thing. This is what it is. And when you're waking up at 4:30 in the morning to, people banging on stuff and what did they have? Soldiers or some army people? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Waking you up. It's real. And it's really a difficult competition to go through. And then you have the, Chef Ramsay with his standards, and you're supposed to cook. And I'll just leave you on this, and I'll ask you my final question. We'll get out of here. I say this a lot. So Brian Merrill, I'm sorry, I always mention your name about this, but I think it was interesting. He told me, because I don't know anything about cooking, I told him I couldn't, make scrambled eggs. He said, Nick, it takes 2 or 3 weeks for a line to come together and work together. I mean, it really does. If they're working together, even if it's 3 or 4 times a week, it really takes a couple weeks for them to understand and move like one unit, right? And that's what he said. And I think you'll know what he's saying. And we get thrown into a place where little things matter, like we talked about before, the fans aren't even on, so it's a little bit hotter, maybe a lot bit hotter. The stove has different hot spots on it than another stove. I think the stove is on because, it's a show. Maybe they turn them on because we're getting in there. Oh, they're not on. Maybe I'm supposed to check that. So things like cutting into a beef Wellington when I know that you're not supposed to do that happen because I'm kind of out of my element here.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that kind of, is that a good understanding of what happens in there or could happen in there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you figure when you go into a job, you have time to adapt and get comfortable and ask questions. And you have people that have been there for months, weeks, years, decades, and they know everything. They know all the little tricks and trades. Now you're going to throw 8 people who've never met in a kitchen that no one's ever cooked in a competition that no one's ever been in. And you have 30 seconds to figure your shit out, and you're right. The lights are on top of you and they can't turn the major fans on because they need to hear what you're saying because it'll have sound. Then you've got your ovens and your stoves and your this is and that, and then you got your uniform on, and then you're running around, and then you're sweating, and then you're nervous on top of that. So you have all of the elements against you, and now you got to perform professionally, perfect and on time in an environment you're thrown into the wolves. So it's a lot of mental, hey, snap out of it. Hey, get out of your head. Yeah, it's hot. Get over it. Drink some more water. Yeah, you don't know the person next to you, but watch them while you're doing yours so you can start to study and say, hey, this, that, and get to see where people are strong at. And it's a lot of multitasking, and it's a lot of, seeing out of the corner of your eye how they're doing this and how they're doing that so you can study your individual competition, but yet your teammates. So there's a lot going on at once. And it's one of those things where you need to stay focused all the time to gain that trust and that camaraderie, and if not, then you get, voted off the island.
Yeah, so true. Last question. Chef Ramsay mentioned in the last episode that he guarantees that a woman will win this competition in season 19. So that's not giving away anything, that there will be a winner.
Yeah. There's like 2 women left.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. What is going on with the, we're in Brooklyn, New York, and I have been to restaurants that women owned, women executive chefs. I've been with men. It doesn't matter to me, number one, but number two is you guys are dominating this show. Is it 8 seasons in a row now that a woman will be a winner of this competition? That's pretty amazing. Is there anything to attribute that data to, that a woman has won it 8 times in a row?
One thing I appreciate about Chef Ramsay is he doesn't see men or female.
Yeah.
He sees chefs. And once you put that coat on, we're all the same. The fact that 9 in a row as of now have won has nothing to do with the sex of the chef. It has to do with the talent.
Yeah.
And if you come, I know a lot of people don't watch all of the episodes or know all the series, but if you really watch the series, it's really amazing how the women that do win or the men that win really deserve that spot and really do cook to the best of their ability in that moment. And I think I appreciate, especially Chef Ramsay being a foreigner, from another country. The other countries seem to see women in secondary when it comes to restaurants.
Sure. Yeah.
And he doesn't. He sees us as equals. And I admire that. And I appreciate that about him. And he sees talent. And talent is what has been winning these competitions. Yeah. And it's nice to see that women have been dominating this competition, just comes to show you that when you put someone in the fire, a lot of the women kind of rise at the top.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking. I watch the show with my wife, and she reminds me all the time. She's like, this show you have to be mentally strong, and she's definitely more mentally strong than I am. I know that, right? In times of I get emotional, and she's much more even keel. And I don't know if that that says anything, right? But I do agree with you that. If you think back at the winners, and we've had many on the show, they are deserving of it. And so it's not like you would question that 9 in a row have been women, because you can go through them right now and list them and go, oh yeah, she deserves it. Oh yeah, she deserves it. Right. They're deserving to win. It's just, he's picking the chef that is the best at the end of every season, and it just happens to be a woman. And so, go for it. Keep rocking and rolling, ladies. I love it. I love it. I want to thank you for your time because I know you're busy. Like I said to Mary Lou, I wish you the best on Thursday night. I look forward to having both of you guys back and talking about the finale. And so thanks again for all your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And like I said, I hope to see you again. We can talk about what happens next week, after next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kori.
Have a good one. Thank you.
We'll be back with more What Would You Ask podcast in a second.